Bernie Ecclestone has stepped down as director of Formula One's holding company after judges in Germany ruled he'll stand trial on bribery charges. Now, the 83-year-old is accused of making a corrupt payment during the sale of a controlling stake in Formula One in 2006. He denies the charges, and the case is set to go to trial in April. Now, despite his departure from the board, Ecclestone will continue to run Formula One on a day-to-day basis. Now, Ecclestone comes from a humble background to reach the very top of Formula One. Many say he is Formula One. He's quite an icon, and he's now fighting to stay there. He competed in his first serious car race in 1949. That was in a 500cc Formula 3 car at Brands Hatch Race track. In 1957, Ecclestone bought the struggling Connaught F1 team and attempted now unsuccessfully to qualify himself for the British Grand Prix. Now, more than 2 decades later, he founded the Formula One Constructors Association. Ecclestone starts to unite the teams and secure global TV rights. And in 2000, Ecclestone struck a deal to exploit the commercial rights of F1 for the 100 years from, yes, 100 years, I read that right, from 2013. The deal is worth $360 million. What a career. Christian Sylt is the co-author of Formula Money. It's an annual report examining all aspects of Formula One's finance. And he joins us now live from CNN London. Christian, it's very difficult to even talk about F1 without talking about Bernie Ecclestone. I want you to just kind of underscore for us what this means today when he actually has to step down even from the part that he did step down from.
Sure. I mean, I think it's it's a tremendously significant decision because Ecclestone, as you say, has he's so important really within the sport. He is the glue that holds it together in many respects, and I think the best way of explaining that is that he essentially, for many companies, brands, individuals within the sport, acts as a personal guarantor, not necessarily in a financial sense, but as he often says, many of his deals are done on a handshake. He negotiates principle to principle with the chief executives, the chairman, the presidents of the biggest brands in the world and the biggest countries in the world for races. Now, those individuals are doing deals with him because they trust that he will be running Formula One in such a way that will basically maximise the impact of the sport and thereby give them a return on investment. Now, if there's any question about his position, whether that is, or whether his wings have been clipped, so to speak, there's a chance that could make people perhaps reluctant to, or at least maybe not so much as reluctant to deal with him, but questioning whether he's the right person to deal with. I mean, as things stand, he's saying he'll run the company on a day-to-day basis. But if you look at the small print, essentially, of the agreement that's been hammered out today, it's all about significant deals being deferred to the board, which he now doesn't sit on.
But I have to ask you, though, does this taint Formula One and possibly jeopardize those huge profits going forward, even if we leave the personal drama of his life alone and put that aside for a moment?
Sure. I mean, I think it does to a certain extent. It raises questions really about the commercial structure of Formula One. That's without a shadow of a doubt what it does, and it leaves that situation in a little bit hanging in the air. I mean, you do have this situation where the chief executive of the company is not on the board and is going to be monitored by the board and is subject to certain limitations in his power. That's quite abnormal for a large corporation or a large institution. I mean, personally, I don't necessarily think it's in the best interests of Formula One for this agreement to have been done. I think it would have been much more logical to have the chief executive in control of the business. So I'm not sure that it puts the sport in good stead, just simply from the perspective of a decision-making ability, which obviously any big corporation, let alone a sport, needs to be able to have at its disposal.